Israel's prime minister. Roll tape.
The U.S.-Israel relationship is one of the most important relationships that we have on the planet. And that relationship, if it is to be successful, must transcend partisanship in the United States, and it must be able to transcend a prime minister who is racist, as he warns about Arabs coming to the polls.
Well, joining us now is Joe Lieberman, former independent senator from Connecticut, joining us now. Joe, great to see you.
You too.
My first question, do you miss Washington? You say, nah.
Not really. Every now and then something happens and I think, gee, I wish I was still there. But it passes quickly.
Okay, let's get back to what Beto O'Rourke said. The Prime Minister, racist, says it like it's a matter of fact. What's your reaction to that? Talking about Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, look, this is an ally in the midst of an election. But I would say, and I know Prime Minister Netanyahu for a long time. I agree with him a lot of the time. I sometimes disagree. He's not a racist. I think I understand what Mr. O'Rourke is talking about, which is that one of the groups that is in likely coalition within the Israeli political community with the Prime Minister in this election has some people in it that I don't agree with, that have taken very, I'd call them anti-Arab positions.
But he's tainting Netanyahu with the same brush.
That's not fair. By everything I know about the Prime Minister, he's definitely not a racist. In fact, he's quite open and inclusive. He has strong ideas about Israeli security and what you have to do for Israeli security. And look, like Mr. O'Rourke running for president, Prime Minister is in the midst of a tough election. He's got to put together a majority.
Does he survive tomorrow, do you think?
From every, I'm guessing. I only know what I hear from there, but it sounds like it's neck and neck between Prime Minister Netanyahu's party and General Benjamin Gantz's party. But everybody seems to think that Prime Minister Netanyahu has an easier path to get to the coalitions that will bring him to a majority in the Israeli parliament. So I would say still the odds are that he stays on. He's opinionated, he's controversial in some places here, but he's not a racist.
Let's move on very quickly. Next one for you. Listen to what President Obama said about the Democrats at a town hall over the weekend. Roll tape. Listen to this.
I do worry about sometimes among progressives in the United States, we start sometimes creating what's called a circular firing squad, where you start shooting at your allies because one of them is straying from purity on the issues.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it, Senator? You're like straying from purity. Does it mean we all have to be far left and progressive? Because if we don't, we form a circle and shoot each other. I mean, what's your reaction?
Yeah, I think and hope that President Obama was saying the opposite, which is, as we used to say too often on Capitol Hill, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. In other words, in a democratic society, a lot of diverse opinions. You've got to bring a lot of people together, not only to get elected, but to get something done. If you strive for perfection, and that's all you'll accept, you'll probably get nothing done. And I think the president was saying, I hope so, and I'll say it for myself. In the Democratic primary for president, if they start to eliminate people from consideration because they disagree with them on one issue, or as in the case of Vice President Biden, because of some behavior that he has apologized for.
Has he apologized? I don't know if he has, but let me ask you this.
He's trying to make amends, I would say. In other words, you can't win by being a purist.
Right.
You have to put coalitions together.
If Joe Biden doesn't run, and there's not a real moderate Democrat, in your opinion, does that play right into the GOP and President Trump's re-election hopes that he ends up going up against someone who's labeled a socialist?
Right. I worry about that. It also may play into the hands of Howard Schultz, the Starbucks
Well, Schultz could
CEO.
split the vote, though, could he not?
Yeah. Now, does he have a chance as a third-party candidate? If you've got President Trump, strong supporters, strong opponents, you've got a really left Democratic candidate. Maybe there's an opening up the middle for Howard Schultz, but very little history of third parties being successful. The last third-party candidate who was successful was a great man named Abraham Lincoln. So I do think that the Democratic Party has a kind of, not quite existential, but a critical choice to make.
Right.
If it goes too far left, President Trump's going to be reelected to a second term.
It's great to see you, Mr. Lieberman.
Nice to see you,
You know, you missed in Washington, I know, but you're enjoying your 11 grandchildren. So that is a blessing indeed.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's take a look at the futures for you ahead of the opening in about 10 minutes from now. We're down about